What's good, dude? Making photographs in the same spot day in and day out can get really boring. So whether it's a classic southwestern scene or a typical cafe on a sidewalk in New York City, it gets really humdrum really quick. So in order to beat this, I wanted to offer some insight on how I just landed a perfect spot for a great scene in a short film that I'm going to be filming next month. Now, this skill set isn't just for someone who's making a short film. You could be a portrait photographer that's looking to wow a client. You could be a podcaster just looking for a new set to set up really quick and get your work done. Or you could be a photographer like me who gets stir crazy way too easy and needs a change of scenery. But let's get back to the program. Now, my interest in video has expanded since I started my YouTube journey, and I think it was just natural for me to want to shoot a short film and expand beyond that. So October marks the month where I'm going to tackle it. Now, I've been in love with movies since I landed my first job in the old Pueblo, aka Tucson, at my first video store. I was almost 18, and it was quite the experience working with a bunch of film nuts who were pretty much default historians, and also the group of people I met there that were tremendously into the arts, literature, and every creative pursuit that I could have possibly been interested in educating myself in. Shout out to Director Strare Video. So my coworkers at the time put me on to the greatest genres in film noir, French New Wave, and everything under the sun that someone who has a little bit of a poetic edge would be looking for creatively. And that made sense that my 35mm work at that time was harkening back to that style of film noir and moody horror films directed by people like Jacques Tourneur and produced by Val Lewton. So as I developed a script for the short film, I knew that I was going to need a bar scene. This is going to be a short movie. It's going to star my fiance. I'm going to be the co-star. Very, very small, very minimal, and it's going to be maybe 4 minutes. I actually picked up the Lumix G7 in order to get some really, really good footage. We're going to see how that turns out at the end of October. Now, for the past few months, I've been going back and forth with the Bisbee Grand Hotel, located in one of my favorite southwestern cities. On Instagram, we comment back and forth, and I knew eventually that I would want to expand our relationship. So not to make this completely oversimplified, but I knew I needed a bar scene. I'm in contact with an establishment that owns a bar, so I simply asked to use it. Now, as a former full-time journalist, I was professionally trained not to be shy. It's a requirement in that industry to ask for exactly what you want. Sometimes the conversation is pleasant. Other times, you're stating the state statute that lets a governmental agency know that they have a certain deadline and they gotta cough up the goods. So when you're a journalist, you're a professional question asker, and you get really good at it really quick. And when you leave the industry or stay in the industry and do something creatively, I think it's easy for people like me to forget asking exactly what you want from an organization is a skill that most people haven't refined. So initially I just dropped them a direct message. I knew I was going to give it a few days. If I didn't hear back, I was just going to give him a ring and say, hey, who's the best person to talk to? I'm interested in shooting a short scene in a short film that I'm creating in Bisbee. Who's the best point of contact? And my interaction was fantastic. Sonia, who runs her social media, I was really excited to talk to her. She's excited about the project and see where it turns out. Everyone's happy. Now, will some places require a model release or some kind of CV or resume or portfolio in the future? Sure. I'm also going to work in bigger cities where it's a requirement to shoot in their subway system. That's fine. But what I've found as a creator is regardless of the situation, I'm asking for what I want. And from what I've experienced, if you give up a little bit more than the daily dose of today's allotment of honey, you usually get exactly what you want. So if you happen to be new to the photo game, or you just are doing something different and you need to shoot on location, this is my friendly reminder. Reach out to people, ask to partner, ask to collaborate. I know that I have been tremendously excited about the results and the relationships that I've developed thus far. Now stay tuned to when this short film drops. I'm actually going to do a lot of behind the scenes, break down where I've had difficulty and what shots I liked most in order to give people insight into what it's like to produce your first short film.